हेलो गाइस, वेलकम यू ऑल टू एआई की पाठशाला। एआई की पाठशाला आपकी अपनी पाठशाला है। यू कैन कम हेयर एंड स्टडी फॉर completely free. Whatever session I am conducting here, it's absolutely free. And usually I conduct session at 9 p.m. IST or between 9 to 10 p.m. IST, usually every day. And we have already covered the basics of Python, and now we have moved to the advanced Python. So I have taken one session in which I have guided how to do the project setup in the VS Code, and how to align it with the GitHub, how to integrate it with the GitHub, and how you can directly push your code from your VS Code to the GitHub. So that is the session, last session I have conducted. Now today we are starting object oriented programming. So this is the first session of the object oriented programming. So I will be conducting this object oriented programming in very details, so that not only Python, if you will from tomorrow, maybe in the future, if you will take any other programming language and want to study, you will have a complete clarity of the object oriented programming, because the most of the concepts and everything is same in whatever programming language you will use, whosoever programming language is following the object oriented approach. So this is all. So I will take this object oriented programming very slowly. I will be going very slowly, and I will be coding along with me. So, and I request you all guys to keep coding along with me, keep typing along with me, ask questions and ask your doubts. And if your doubts is not clear during this live session, you can wait at the end of the session. I will take your doubts definitely. And those of you who are watching my recorded session, you can go to the description section and join my Telegram group link from there if you want to attend my live classes, because whatever live session I conduct, I post my joining link in the Telegram group. So that's all for me.
Please subscribe our channel AI Ki Pathshala and join most intellectual people here and be the one out of one.
Thanks, Ruchi. And Ruchi is also is as our like very sincere and very cooperative, I say, uh, student of AI Ki Pathshala from the very day one, and she is learning very diligently. So I thanks her from the core of my heart. So keep learning, keep smiling. Now let's start this session. Let me share you my screen. And is my screen visible to you guys? Can you please confirm me?
Yes.
So because so today I am going to use the Jupyter notebook. From tomorrow I will be going to use this VS Code. So we will be coding in the VS Code only. Jupyter notebook I am using for today because some of the guys is having problem in using the VS Code because they have not attended a previous session. So they may get issue in using it. That's why I am using the Jupyter notebook today. So that's all. Let's understand what is this object oriented programming. So see, this is also called OOPS. OOPS, full form of OOPS is object. Let me write object oriented programming. This is called OOPS. In most of the programming language, see, the C language that you must have heard about is not a object oriented programming, but the C++, which is programming language, is a object oriented programming language. So now here we will learn here how Python is an object oriented programming, or whatsoever the programming language which follows the object oriented approach. What is this object oriented approach? So that we are going to uncover today. See,
it will be double OPS or O double PS.
Double OPS. Thanks for correcting me. Double OPS, object oriented programming. Object oriented OOPS. It is also called OOPS in short form. Object oriented programming. Thanks, sir, for correcting me. So keep correcting me like this.
You're welcome.
So OOPS is a programming paradigm. OOP is a programming paradigm. Paradigm. Let me write it here. Programming paradigm. I will also give you the complete notes of all those things. Don't worry about taking the notes right now. Just try to focus on understanding the things. Let me open you my book. See, what is this?
Why you have written session 002?
Because the last session that I have conducted was a 001. That was the advanced Python session. And
Okay,
this
we
is
are
a
into
second
advanced.
session. That's why. In the advanced
Okay.
Python session, that was the first session, and this is this continuation of it. This is the second session, and from this is the third four. Because the basics Python we have already covered it. Now we are in the advanced Python.
So how we will distinguish in your
because you will see the different playlists there. There is a playlist called Advanced Python. Earlier playlist was Basics of Python.
Okay.
And this is a Advanced Python playlist. So you can distinguish there from this name. Fine. What is this programming paradigm? It's a way of doing programming which is extremely useful and is a default way whenever we are doing any real-time project. So, can you understand this? What is this programming paradigm? This is a way of doing programming which is extremely useful, and this is the default way whenever we are doing any real-time project. So whatever real-time project we will be doing, we will be using this approach, this object-oriented approach. So whatever we are doing, whether we are building a website or we are building any Android application, we will be writing the code using object-oriented way. So before we are talking about object-oriented programming, let's understand first why we need this. Why actually the object-oriented approach is needed in the programming. So the basic idea behind this whole thing, is that we want our code should be very similar to the way we speak or communicate with others in real life. So so we want our code should be very similar to the way we speak or we communicate with others in real life. The way we talk to others is a very object-oriented way. Let me write the way we talk to others is a very object-oriented way. So in the real life, whatever communication we are doing with the other people, whatever talk we are doing with the other, that is an object-oriented way. We will talk in a, let's take an example. Let's say if I will, let's say we will talk about something, some object. Let's say we will talk about, there is a chair, and you need to do something about it. Let's say I am asking you that there is a chair and you need to bring that chair here. Bring that chair from some place, from where it is presently there, to the place where I am right now. So see, in the real world, everything is an object. Even I am an object. Every human being is in an object. Every animate or inanimate things that we come across in our day-to-day life, whether it is a plant or whether it is a, let's say, car, or it's a house or any article, a book, everything is an object. When we are talking, oh, this object is here, that object is there, that thing is there, that object is here. So everything in the real life is an object. We call it an object. So when I am telling you to bring this chair, let's say I am telling Mr. Misra sir to bring this chair, which is 100 meter away from this place, to bring that chair to me, to the place where I am standing right now. So Mr. Misra sir is an object for me, and also I am asking Mr. Misra sir, who is an object, to do something about another object, which is a chair, and what I am asking him to do, to bring that chair to this place. So Mr. Misra sir is also an object, that chair is also an object, and what I am asking one object, which is Mr. Misra sir, to do something with the another object, which is a chair. And what I am asking him to do, I am asking him to bring that chair to me. So this is a job, or this is a function, this is a work that I am assigning him. I am assigning one object, who is Misra sir, to do with the another object, which is chair, and I am asking to do this work with the another object. Do you have a little bit clarity about this thing? I will explain you it in more details. Let me explain you. So let's say there is a person. Let's say there is a person whom I am talking to, and I'm asking the person to do something about another object. So that person, let's say in this case, Mr. Misra sir is a person. So in terms of language, Mr. Misra sir is an object for me, and I am asking the person who is supposed to be a Misra sir to do something about another object. Mr. Misra sir is one object, and I asking this object, Mr. Misra sir, to do something with another object, which is a chair in this case. So I am saying the person is an object. So whenever we are talking about real life, we will think of people as an object. We will think of chair as another object, table as another object, animal as an object, bird as an object, or everything around you is an object. In real life, whatever thing you see, or even whatever sits, animate or inanimate object that is around you, everything is an object. Even you are an object. I am an object. Everything is an object. So this is the scenario of my real life scenario. So the way you will do is you are asking an object, like say I am asking an object which happens to be a human in this case. I am a human being, you are also a human being, and I am asking an object which happens to be a human, hey, to do something for me. If you want to do something for me, in which you need to do something about another object. In the case what I have explained you, let's take another case. If I ask somebody, let's say if I ask Ruchi, give me my laptop. If I ask Ruchi to give me my laptop, what it basically means? It basically means I am asking an object which is Ruchi. Ruchi is an object. So I am asking an object Ruchi to do something for me, in which she needs to do something about another object, which is laptop in this case. So I am asking one object, which is Ruchi in this case, do something about another object, which is laptop in this case. So I am asking if I ask Ruchi to give me my laptop, so what basically I am asking him to do, hey, object Ruchi, do something about the another object, which is laptop, to do something for me, in which she needs to do something about another object. Is this thing clear to you? And it will be more clear when we understand how exactly we achieve all these things. So I'm going to explain you in details in the coming but till now, have you understand a little bit what what I have explained you right now? Please give me any input from you guys? Please confirm me. Have you understood a little bit what I was trying to explain you here?
Yes, yes.
Misra sir?
Yes, yes.
Fine. So now I am going to explain you this thing with the help of an example. And let's say you we are writing a code for an e-learning company. Let's say AI Ki Pathshala. Let's suppose AI Ki Pathshala is a e-learning company, and you have given a task. We have given a task to write a code for the e-learning company. So basically, in this company, let's say AI Ki Pathshala is one company, and we are asked to write code for this company. So what basically the first thing that comes in our mind that we are writing code where students are able to take admission into batches. Let's say AI Ki Pathshala is one company, and in this company, students are able to take admission. So a student are able to take admission in a batches. There may be different batches. Let's say there are multiple, so there will be multiple batches, and in different batches, students will be there. So what I want is, if a student is taking admission in a batch, then my code should look something like this. Let me write it here. If a student is taking admission in a batch, so there is a e-learning company, and in this e-learning company, let me write it here, open my this thing. Let's say there is a e-learning company. This is a e-learning company. Fine, e-learning company. This is e-learning company. And in this company, the students are able to take admission. So students are able to take admission in a batch. Fine. Students are able to take admission in a batch. And there are different batches. Let's say, so there are multiple batches. This is batch B1, let's say this is batch B2, this is batch B3, this is batch B4, and so on. Let's say this is batch B5. Fine. Then, if this is the thing, then my code should look like this. Then my code should look like batch, BATCH batch dot give admission, and whom to give admission? Student. And I'm passing student here as an argument. So here, first thing is the batch. In the batch, I want to give admission to whom? Students. So I'm passing a student as a argument here. A student should come in batch. So there is a batch, and in the batch, a student is able to take admission, or I am able to give admission to students in the batch. So first thing is batch. Second thing is giving admission. I am putting dot here. Dot in batch. In the batch, a student can only take admission in a batch. In a batch, I can give admission to whom? To students. So if you just understand in this way, it is you will understand this thing very clearly. The concept will get clear at all. So now, if you look at this line, let's say if you look at this line which I have written here, it's absolutely clear what this line is going to do. Here, my batch, this batch is an object. This is not a physical object. This is see, this batch is an object here. Object. This batch is an object. This is not a physical object. This is, but it's an object. If I talk about this e-learning company, which has a e-learning company which has lot of batches. E-learning company has a lot of batches, B1, B2, B3, B4, let's say, or another batch, you can say it like if this e-learning company, let me delete it here. Say this is a e-learning company, and this e-learning company has a lot of batches. Let's say first batch is, one batch is Python, another batch is machine learning, another batch is deep learning, another batch is data science. Likewise, there are multiple batches. So each batch is an object. I'm calling each batch as an object. Here batch, this is a batch. Here batch is an object. And this batch has some functionality. And every batch has some functionality. What functionality this batch has? This batch is able to give admission to the students. So what is the functionality of this batch? This batch can give admission to students, and it's taking an argument student from us. This batch has a functionality that it can give admission. This batch has an functionality, give admission, and whom to give admission? Definitely it should give admission to the student. So it is taking a student as an argument from us. So basically, if you see this, inside this e-learning company, there are batches. There are batches which is supposed to be the object. This batch is supposed to give, this batch has certain functionality. Which functionality is that? Give admission. And to whom? To the students. So in this way, if you logically understand the flow of the thing, you will understand that yes, this is a batch which is an object. This object has certain functionality, give admission, and I am passing some argument student inside this functionality. Is this thing clear to you?
Yes.
Fine. So this is very simple thing that I have explained you right now. Let's understand some few more things. So don't worry about how we will achieve this. We will learn about all those things. But the idea is, this is why we need object-oriented programming. What I was trying to explain you right now, that why because I have told you, first thing that we should understand why we need object-oriented programming. So this is the reason that we need the object-oriented programming. With the very basic idea behind, very basic idea behind it, that my code, when I read it, it should be very obvious what I'm trying to do. And it should be very similar to the way we speak or communicate with each others in real life. Say, if you will see this thing, batch dot give admission and a student. So by just looking at this thing, yes, tell me, Ruchi, you have raised your hand.
The first object, that is batch.
Yes.
Where is the second object that we are talking about?
I will be talking about this thing, that thing, in just in some time. But here
Okay.
I have just talking about this object. There is one object called batch, and this object has some functionality, give admission to whom? To the students. I am passing the student as an argument. So just by looking at this line, you can understand what I am going to supposed to do. And it is the way we deal with the things in our real life. Because see, whatever the project or whatever programming you do in real life, not this 1 + 1 is equal to 2 or this Fibonacci series, and these are just the basic things to understand and keep grasp. But the actual programming that you do, that is, you use the modular approach and the object oriented approach. The object oriented approach is similar to the approach we deal with the day-to-day life. We deal with the day-to-day situations and day-to-day things in our real life. It is exactly like that. So if you simply look at this this thing, anyone, if someone, some of the guy who is not aware of this coding thing and object oriented programming, if you simply give this line to the guy, he will look at it, batch dot get admission, he will understand what this line is conveying the message. This line is simply, if you simply look at this line is conveying the message, there is a batch and this batch is giving admission. So students should take admission in a batch, and this is a student. So I'm talking about a student who can take admission in a batch. This is a simple thing. So this is understanding of a common man. If any common people will see this line, he will understand the message that this line is conveying to that. So same approach we are using in my object oriented programming. This is the approach that we are going to use in the object oriented program. That I have already told you, the basic idea behind it is that my code, when I read it, it should be very obvious what I am trying to do. And it should be very similar to the way we speak or communicate with each other in the real life. So is this thing clear? Now let's move to the next part, which is very important. So in case of object oriented programming, I'm writing object oriented programming. There are two main concepts that we will be using everywhere, two main concepts that we will be using everywhere. What are those concepts? One is called classes and another is called objects. Classes and objects. So this is the two very important concept, two main concept in object oriented programming, and that are called classes and objects. So let's understand first what is class, what is objects, and what is all those things. So let's first understand object. First, I'm going to explain you what this object is. I have already explained you. Now I'm going to delve deep into this object thing. Object. Just now, I have told you this batch is an object. If you just read, this batch is an object. I am asking this batch to do something about another object, which is supposed to be a student in this case. This batch is one object, and I am assigning some work to that batch. What work I am assigning? Give admission to whom? To another object. So here batch is an object and student is an object. In that case, what I was doing, I am an object. I am asking Ruchi to give me my laptop. So see, understand it. This, if you will understand this line, this thing will get clear. See, I am asking Ruchi to give me the laptop. So here, Ruchi is an object for me, and the laptop is also an object. First object is the Ruchi, and laptop is the another object. And I am asking my first object, which is Ruchi in this case, to do something about another object, which is a laptop in this case. So the process of doing something is called the functionality. I am assigning one functionality to the Ruchi that give me the laptop. So giving me the laptop is a functionality that I am assigning it to one object. I am assigning this functionality to the Ruchi, which is an object, to do something. What he is supposed to do? He is supposed to give me the laptop, and the laptop is another object. Do you get it? So what is happening here? I am telling one object to do something for me, in which he has to do something about the another object. Do you understand this, Ruchi and Mr. Sir?
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
In the same way, here, batch is an object, and this batch has certain functionality, give admission. So this batch can give admission to which? To another object. This batch is an object, and it is the task it is performing, the functionality that it is doing. It is doing that functionality on another object, which is student in this case. So here, which are the object? Here, batch, BAT says batch, and student, both are object in this case. Do you have the clarity of this or not? What are my objects? Batch and student is my object here in this case. Now, let's
How
see.
student become object? Earlier it was an argument.
Argument is an object only. You can understand the
Okay.
argument as an object only. Argument is also an object. Fine. Fine.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Fine. So now let's understand this thing in more detail. See, I want to create an object called batch, and I want to create an object called student. So these are the two objects. Batch and student are the two objects that I want to create. If I'm thinking of an e-learning solution of a company, let's say AI Ki Pathshala is an e-learning company, and if I'm thinking from a common mindset, common understanding, and if I am thinking of an e-learning solution of a company which has a lot of batches, and each batch has a lot of students. So see, object batch and object students. So there are multiple batches. It is not necessary that there is only one batch. So there can be a multiple batches, and each batch there can be a many number of students. You get this? So let's say this batch, BATCH batch, let's say there are different batches. Let's say there is one batch called batch. There is one batch called data science batch. DS means data science batch. There is another batch called let's say machine learning batch, ML. I am writing ML batch, machine learning. There is another batch called, let's say, Python batch. Likewise, there are and so many others. So there might be having lot of batches, and these batches, there might be having lot of batches, and these batches will be having lot of students. Fine. Now, if you just delve a little bit deeper, you will understand all these batches will be very similar. That means they will have a similar kind of data with them. They will have similar kind of functionality. So they will be similar to each other. So see, first what I have told you, there is two objects in this scenario, in this e-learning company scenario. and the first object is batch, second object is student. Now you can also understand this. You have understood this. A student can take admission in a batch. This student can take, or this batch can give admission to students in the opposite way. If you want to understand, batch can give admission to students. So here batch is an object, a student is an object. Now batch, there can be a multiple batches. So I have given this, let's say this is one batch, batch data science, batch machine learning, batch Python, and so on. There may be having lot of batches like this. So there may be having lot of batches like this, and these batches will be having a lot of students. Fine. All these batches will be having lot of students. Now, second thing is that all these batches, whether this is a DS batch or ML batch or Python batch or whatsoever batches, they will have similar kind of data with them. Why the similar kind of data? Because they will have a similar kind of students and similar kind of things in the batch. So I'm not telling you that they will have an exact data with them, but they will have all the batches. Say what the batches will have. Batches will have a students. Batches will have a some name. Each batch will have certain, let's say, starting date, in what date the batch will start. Each batch will have certain end date, in which date the batch is going to end. Each date will have certain topics which the batch is supposed to cover. Each batch will be assigned certain teacher who will teach in that particular batch. So these are the common things. These are certain common data with them, and they will have similar kind of functionality. So these batches will be very similar to each other, what I'm trying to do. Similarly, if you will, similarly, let me write it, similarly, if you talk about the students, each student will have, let's say, each student will have name, have roll number, let's say, and so on. So similarly, each batch is having a similar kind of data. In the same way, if I will talk about a student, each student will have certain similar kind of data. What similar kind of data? Each student, let's say each student will have some name. Each student who is present in any batch will have some name. Each student will be having some roll number. Each student will be having some, let's say, address of their house. Each student will have some mobile number. Likewise, there are so many things. So more or less, there are similar kind of the students will be similar as well. So what I want to say, so students will be similar as well. So fine. Now let me explain you. Let me just open this. See. Now let's try to understand the one thing. You have understand this batch. Each batch is having a similar kind of data. That's why they are similar. Similarly, each student will have some similar kind of data. Let's say name, roll number, mobile number, house address. Likewise, each student will be having these data. So a student will also be similar as well. So what I am trying to explain you, The way we structure our code is that let's say we will create a class. Let's say this is a class. Fine. This is a class. The way we structure our code is generally that we will create a class. This is our class. So what this class is nothing but just a template or a blueprint of how will my object look like. See, this class is just a blueprint or a template. You can say template or blueprint of how my object will look like. Let's say in this case, this is a student. A student is an object. So there is certain thing inside the student, that a student will be having a roll number. A student will having a name. A student will be having, let's say, some address, house address. A student will be having some mobile number, let's say. So these are the common things. These are the things which is common for every student. Fine. So class is nothing but just a template or a blueprint of how my object will look like. So there may be two things here. So there may be two things here. We can here create two classes. One is called the batch class, and another we can create a student class. See, we may create a batch class here and we may create a student class here. These are the different classes. One is the batch class and one is the student class. And inside this batch class, there are certain things which is common in every class, every batch. Likewise, I have told you, every batch will be having certain things common. Let's say every batch will have certain start date. Let's say every batch will have a certain number of students. I am going to certain number of students. Let's say start date. Let's say end date. Let's say teachers assigned to that particular batch. Likewise, there are certain things which is common in every batch. Every batch will have these things. Likewise, every student class will have certain things common. Likewise, name, roll number, address, or ID card. Every student will be having an ID card, and so on. Likewise, there are a lot of things is there which is common for every student. So I have created two things here. I have created one class called batch class and other class called student class. So whatever thing that is common in every batch, or that properties or similarity that is in every batch, I am putting it inside this batch class. Whatever thing that is similar in the student, in every student, I am putting it inside a student class. So basically, what class is a basically template or blueprint. What it means, that let's say if I am creating a batch class here, let me remove this. And fine. So let's see here, I have created two class called batch class, and another is called student class. student class. This is my batch class and this is my student class. Now, what it means, batch class is having certain things, which is every batch, whatever batch will be there will be certain
Earlier
things.
they were object, now they are
Yes,
class.
I'm coming to that. I'm telling you that everything is an object. Have you understood this? Everything is an object. Now what I am telling you, see, every batch has certain things similar. There is a certain thing, there is certain similarity in every batch. That I have explained you. There is a certain similarity in every batch. In the same way, there is certain similarity in every student. Whatever student is present in each batch, there is certain things that is similar in a student. So I am telling this batch as one class and student as another class. You will understand this. Just wait for some time. You will have a clarity of that. Let me explain you this thing. Then you will understand all those things. So, see, all these students first understand. Now, this is a batch class. This is a student class. All these students will be having similar functionality and similar kind of data. Data is also called attributes. Data or data. Oh. Why this is not working? See, data is also called attributes. Attributes or data. So, object will have some functionality and the object is able to do some work for us that I have already discussed, and data is the attribute. So generally my object will have two things, functionality and data. Let's not first discuss about the object. Let's first discuss about this. See, these students will have similar functionality. The students, I have created one class called student class, let's say, and whosoever student is there, so all these students will have similar functionality and similar kind of data. Similar functionality and similar kind of data. Every student will have a similar functionality and similar kind of data. That means all the students should be able to do, let's say, all the students should be able to do their assignments. All the students should have their name. Let's say all the students should be able to do their assignments. All the students have their name. All the students have their roll number, and so on. So these are the attributes, these are the similarity in every student. So whosoever student you will pick, this student will definitely have some assignment. This student definitely will have a name. This student definitely will have a roll number. Fine. Similarly, there is a batch. So all the batches should be able to take students for admission. Whatsoever be the batch, either it will be the DS batch or ML batch or Python batch or whatever batch. There are certain things which is common in every batch. First thing, let's say this batch should be able to give admission to students. Batch should able to give admission. All the batches should have some schedule for how long the batch is and when it start and when does it ends. Every batch should have some start date. There is schedule for every batch. Every batch should have some end date when the batch is going to end date. Likewise, there may be different things. There may be different functionalities or datas inside each batch. So now let's understand how this is exactly working. So what we will do is we will create one template for the batch class and we will create another template for the student class. So let's say here in the batch class, let's say I'm taking these three functionality which is common in every batch. In the student class, let's say I'm taking this functionality which is common in every student. So what it means to create a template means we will create one template which we are going to use in every batch, because every batch will take admission, every batch will have some start date, every batch will have some end date. Likewise, every class of student will have some assignment, will have some name, will have some roll number. So now let's say if I want to create a template of this class, so I will put these things inside my template. I will define what is the shape, what is the structure of my template. So let's say my batch class, if I want to create a template for my batch class, so that template should contain admission, start date and end date. If I create a template for my student class, that template should be should have some assignment, should have some name or should have some roll number. So what exactly happening here, let's understand this. What we will do is we will create template called batch. Let's say I am going to create one template called batch and I am going to create another template called student. This is my another template called student. First template, I am creating a template called batch. And whenever I need to create a new batch, let's say there are a lot of batches. Let's say B1, B2, B3, there may be a lot of batches. So I'm creating one template. We'll create a template called batch. The name of that template will be batch. And whenever I need to create a new batch, I will use this template to create new batch. Because in every batch, the functionalities and data will be similar. So I'm using this one template for every batch that I'm going to create. I will be using only one template, and with the help of that template, I can create any number of batches which I want to create. Is this thing clear to you? Similarly, I will create one template called student and I will use that template for every student. It will be more clear to you when you will understand this. Let's move to something else. Let me explain you this. So see, let's write there is a batch called Python. Are you guys there? Are you guys there?
Yes, yes.
Fine. Ruchi,
Yes, I'm here.
see, there is a one batch called Python. So let's create the template for this batch. What this batch Python should, let's create a template for the batch only. There is one batch called Python batch. So if I will create simply the template for this batch, it should have start date. Let me write it start date. Let me write it should take admission, mission. It should have end date. And likewise, it has many number of likewise it have lot of other things inside it. So this is a Python batch. This is simply a batch. Now tell me, if you will take, either you will take Python batch, or you will take ML batch, or you will take DS batch, or whatever batch you will take, is this thing similar in every batch or not? Whatever batch you are going to create, either it is a Python batch or some Java batch or some other batches or an English batch or whatever batch. So these things will be common in every batches. So what I am doing, I am creating one template called batch, and I am putting these things inside this template, and I will use it in whatever batch I am going to create, because this is similar in every batch. Data will be different maybe, but there is a similarity inside it. Every batch has some start date, every batch will take admission, every batch will have some end date. Like this, there are other things will also be there. Similarly, let's say I've created one batch called Python. Now let's understand it like this. Let's say I've created the batch called Python, and this batch has a start date, and this batch can take admission, and this batch has an end date and some other attributes. Now, I will create another batch. Now, when I will create another batch, let's give it the name of the batch, ML, machine learning batch. I will repeat all these things. I will repeat all these. What these? All these things. So if I want to create the ML batch, I will simply repeat all these things. So my ML batch will get created, and whatever attributes is inside this Python batch, start date, take admission, end date, all this will get repeated in the another batch, which is ML batch. If you again want to create some other batch, let's say batch Java batch, or let's create another any batch, statistics batch. So again, this thing will get repeated. So what I was telling you, that I will create a template, and I will use that template in every batch that I'm going to create. So that template was called the class. So class was basically that what I have told you. Class is basically a template in, I have written here, I have not written here. Okay, let me write it here so that it will be clear to you. Class is objects class is basically the template or blueprint. So I'm making a template, and I'm using that template for every batch. Similarly, I will make one more template called student template, and I will use that template for every student. So why I'm going to create the template? Let's understand this. See, let me write it for you. The problem is The problem is every time I create a batch, I will have to mention what all attributes it what all attributes it have, and what all data it should have or what all functionality it should have. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. See, every time I create a batch, I will have to, let's say, every time I will create one batch called, first batch is, let's say, Python batch. So I have to mention all those things. Then I will create another batch called ML batch. Then again, I have to mention all those things. Then again, I will create some another batch called Java batch. Then again, I have to mention all those things. So I do not want to do that. Same thing I have written here. The problem is every time I create a batch, I will have to mention what all attributes it have, what all data it should have, or what all functionality it should have. And I don't want to do it. What I want is I define it once, that how does a batch looks like, how does a batch looks like, what are the properties of a batch, what are the properties, what are the properties of a batch, of a BATCH batch. Let's write what are the properties of a batch, what are the functionalities of a batch, what are the functionalities of a batch, and batch. And once I have done that, I don't want to repeat every time I want to create a new batch. To create a new batch. So I have written this so that it will be with you, so that when you will revise it, you will read these lines and understand what I have explained you. So let's read it from here and understand whatever I have written. The problem is that every time I create a batch, I will have to mention all these attributes it have and what all data it should have, or what all functionality it should have. And I don't want to do that, because every time I have to write everything. Whatever batch I am creating, every time I have to write these things, whatever is present. And I don't want to do that. Every time I don't want to do it. So what I want is I define it once. What defining it once? I am creating one template, or called class, or you can call it a blueprint. Everything, meaning is everything, whatever I have told you. Meaning of everything
Class
is
or template or blueprint.
yes, but generally we call it a class. We will, class is a standard way.
Is it the same class which we study in statistics?
Class, no, that is a different, this is a different thing.
Okay.
The statistics class is a very different thing, and this is very different thing. So what I want is I define it once, that how does a batch looks like. How does a, what will be the my shape, size, and whatever. How does a रूपरेखा, you can call it a रूपरेखा in हिंदी, कि मैं ये पहले से डिफाइन कर लूंगा कि ये मेरे बैच का रूपरेखा कैसा होना चाहिए. ठीक है, like, and what all properties of a batch, what should all be the properties of a batch, what are the functionalities of a batch. So once I have done that, I don't want to repeat it every time. I want to create a new batch. So once I have defined all these things which my batch should be having, then every time if I'm going to create a new batch, I am not going to write everything when I will be creating the new batch. I will simply use that. This is called template or a blueprint. I have created one blueprint. One, you must be, since Mr. Misra sir has such a diverse experience and he has worked in a operation field for such a long time, so he must be understanding the blueprint. We will create a blueprint of something, whatever. If I will, so if you will create a blueprint, you are going to use that thing in whatever batches you will be. If you want to make a next batch, you will be just creating a blueprint of it. So that template or that blueprint is basically called a class. So it should be simply able to create new batch by using some code or some syntax, whatever is using. So let me explain you this thing. So there is called class, and this class will have a template, 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 and with the help of this template, which will this template will tell us what kind of data, comma, what kind of functionalities, what kind of data or what kind of functionality such objects should have. This is a class. Now let's understand what is the object. So now this thing will get clearer to you. Object is an instance of this class. What it means? See, I have created one class. Now let me explain you this thing. This is very important thing. So let me explain you this. Let's understand this thing. Let's see. I have created one class called batch. This is a class called batch. So, and this, when I'm creating this class, I'm assigning certain things inside it. So tell me, what are the things that I have assigned inside the batch? Ruchi and Misra sir, can you please tell me?
Sir, I think sir left the class.
Okay. Sir has left the class? Not an issue. Okay. So what's the time?
It's just about 11.
Okay.
10:56.
10:50. So we will be ending the class very soon, I suppose. Okay, fine. Not an issue. So can you please tell me? Ruchi? See, I have already explained you this class will be having certain functionalities. This class batch will be having certain functionality. What are those? It should have some. It should be able to give admission. Let's say it should have certain start date. It should have certain end date,
And meet.
and likewise there may be many more things, whatever. But my purpose is, see, this is a class called batch. This is a template for this class, or which will tell us what kind of data, what kind of functionality such objects is having. An object is an instance of this class. What object is? This is a class called batch. Now, let's say if I want to create a batch called Python, if I want to create a batch called ML, if I want to create a batch called DL, DL means deep learning, or if I want to create a batch called DS, DS means data science. So these are called the instance of this class, called instance of this batch class. This instance of the batch class. Instance of this batch class. Do you get this point? So this is the object. This is the object. These are the objects. These are the objects. So this is the class, and whatever instance I am creating with this class, those instances are called the objects. So here batch is a class, and this instance of this batch class, which is the Python batch, ML batch, DL batch, DS batch, these are called the instance of this class, which is also called object of the class. Do you get it? Got it?
Yes, yes.
You got it?
Yes.
So what it means, what it simply means, an object, that means, it simply means it simply means that this class, any class, will have multiple object. obj1, object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4, and so on. Do you understood this? So there is a class, and that class has a multiple objects. There may be multiple objects of this class. That is the multiple instances of this class. Because I have told you this batch class, there is a batch class. I can create a different object of this batch class called Python batch, Java batch, data science batch, or any other batch, PHP batch, or machine learning batch, deep learning batch, any other batches. Similarly, if I will say, there is a student class, let's say this is a student class. So this class can have a different instances. Student 1, student 1, student 2, student 2, student 3, and so on. Likewise, there are any number of students. So this class is basically a template or a blueprint, and this instance of this class is called the objects. So what happens is, whenever in my, do you understood this? Ruchi, please clarify me. Have you understood this or not?
Yes, yes, understood.
Fine. So let's understand this. Let me write something more here. So let me write one more thing. So whenever in our code, we need object, we need to find a way to create an instance of this class, So whenever in our code we need object, we need to find a way to create an instance of that class. So this is the, I suppose, theory behind this, to understand this class and objects. This is all about the class and objects. Now, from the next session, we are going to code these things and understand with the help of the code how we are going to create a class, how we are going to create an object or instance of the class. Then you will get a complete clarity of, and you will be able to distinguish and understand how this class is different from the object, how object and classes are different. So this is the entire theory of the classes. You can also understand, I am giving you one analogy to understand this class and object thing. So let me stop sharing my screen first. So you can also understand this by, because see, see, human beings, let's say, are you listening, Ruchi?
Yes, yes, listening.
So this is just an analogy that I am giving you, so that whatever concept that I have explained you just now, right now, it will be more clear to you. See, I am giving you a few examples to understand the difference between the classes and objects. See, let's say human being is one class. Fine, human being is one class. So let's say there are certain properties of every human being, that human being can walk, human being can talk, human being can think,
And human
and
being
can study like you are studying. Human being can teach like I am teaching. Like there may are different properties. Human beings have hair, human beings have nose, human beings have eyes. These are the properties of the human beings. So human being is one class. Let's understand this by this way. Human being is a class, and this class has certain attributes inside it, or certain properties, or certain functionality inside it, that human being can think, human being can walk, human being can talk, let's say. And Ruchi is an instance of that human being. Anup is an instance of that human being class. Human being is one class. Ruchi is an instance of that class. Anup is an instance of that class. Mr. Sankar is an instance of that class. So we all are objects. The instance of the class is called an object. So I am an object. I am an object of which class? I am an object of a human being class. You are an object of which class? Human being class. Why we are an object of the human being class? See, So whatever the property that is present, whatever the functionality that we have defined inside this human being class, so whatever object is there, either it is Ruchi, or it is Anup, or it is Mr. Sankar, or it is someone else, all will have the same functionalities, whatever the class is. So this human being class is having one template, or you can say blueprint, that is common to all the objects of this class. I is an object of which class? Human being class. You is an object of which class? Human being class. Is it fine? Now, I am giving you another example. Say there is a one class called animal class. So one class is called animal class. There are certain properties of the animal class. And let's take certain properties of the animal class. Animal is having 4 legs, let's say. Animal live in jungle. Animals can eat grass or meat, flesh, or likewise animal can live, animal can whatever things. So these are the class. Animal is one class. Let's say tiger, let's say lion, let's say dog. These are the instance of that class, that animal class. Tiger is an instance of the animal class. Lion is an instance of the animal class. Cat is an instance of the animal class. Dog is an instance of the animal class. Fine. Let's understand. I'm giving you few more example. See, there is one class called dog class. Now let's understand by this also. There is one class called dog class. So there are certain features common in, there are certain features of this class, dog class. What are that thing? Dog can bark. Uh, dog can bark is one thing. Second thing is that dog have a tail. Third thing is that dog, we can keep dog as a pet, let's say. Or likewise, there are more such things in the dog class. And German Shepherd, let's say, is one. Dog has certain breed. And now let's say I am taking German Shepherd, I am taking Bulldog, I am taking some other name, give me the name of some other dog, Pitbull, let's say Pitbull. So German Shepherd, Pitbull, Bulldog, these are the instance of the dog class. These are the instance of the dog class. Similarly, let's take bird. Let's say bird is one class. Fine. Now, bird has certain features. Bird can fly. Bird lives in nest. Likewise, there are certain attributes of this bird class. Now, let's say parrot, crow, or some other peacock. This parrot is an instance of the bird class. Peacock is an instance of the bird class. And sparrow is an instance of the bird class. So this is just an analogy to make you understand the difference between the class and objects. So these are the objects, those are the classes. So this is all for the today's session. From the next session, we will be starting with the, we will start coding this to understand in more significant way this classes and objects and a lot of other things inside the object-oriented programming. But classes and object is the first thing that you should learn when we start the object-oriented programming. So kindly give your feedback. How was your session today? Have you understood what are the things that I have taught you today or not? Or have you faced any issue?
Yeah, I understood the fact of object and class, the difference between both of them. So I'll be very excited to see how it gonna be used in the coding world.
Yes,
Hope it's
definitely.
being
So
interesting.
from tomorrow we will be doing the coding only, and along with the coding we will keep on understanding different concepts. So today the entire session was dedicated to this theoretical thing, objects and classes. That's why I've taken so much of time to make you understand. This is all. Those of you who are watching my recorded session now, Richi, please tell what they need to do.
Subscribe our channel and support us and be the part of us.
Thanks. That's all for the day. So here we are ending this session today, and we will be meeting tomorrow at the same time, maybe 9:30 or 9 p.m. I will message you in the Telegram group. So that's all. Thanks, guys. So if you guys are having any doubts, you can put it in the comment section. I will happy to clear your doubts. So thanks. Take care, and